പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. പിതാവിനും പുത്രനും പരിശുദ്ധായിക്കും സ്തുതി ആദിമുന്നേക്കും തന്നെ. ആമേൻ. സ്വർഗസ്ഥ പിതാവാം ദൈവമേ, മാർച്ച് മാസത്തിൻ്റെ 3-ാമത്തെ വ്യാഴാഴ്ചയ്ക്കായി നന്ദി സ്തോത്രം അർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. ഈ കഴിഞ്ഞ ആഴ്ചകളിലൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ പലതും പുതിയ കാര്യങ്ങൾ കേൾക്കുവാൻ, ഗ്രഹിക്കുവാൻ, അതനുസരിച്ച് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ജീവിതത്തെ ക്രമപ്പെടുത്തുവാൻ, അത് മറ്റുള്ളവരോട് പറയുവാൻ ഒക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് സഹായിച്ചോർത്ത് ദൈവത്തെ സ്തുതിക്കുന്നു. ഇന്നും ഇൻവോൾവ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഈ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഞങ്ങളെ പഠിപ്പിക്കുവാൻ ഇന്ന് അതിന് ലീഡർഷിപ്പ് കൊടുക്കുന്ന 3 പേരെയും അടുത്ത കാര്യങ്ങളിലേക്ക് തരുന്നു. വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവരെയും അനുഗ്രഹിക്കണമേ. ഇന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ കേൾക്കുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ വീണ്ടും ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ ലൈഫിന് അതൊരു വലിയ അനുഗ്രഹവും മുതൽക്കൂട്ടുമായി തീരുവാൻ ദൈവം സഹായിക്കണമെന്ന് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു. പ്രാർത്ഥനയുടനായി നന്ദി. ഞങ്ങളുടെ കർത്താവ്, ഞങ്ങളുടെ രക്ഷിതാവുമായ യേശു ക്രിസ്തുവിൻ്റെ വിലയേറിയ നാമത്തിൽ തന്നെ. ആമേൻ. പ്ലീസ് ബി സീറ്റഡ്.
Good morning. So this is going to be a very interesting quest. So we have 2 excellent speakers for us today, Dr. Finny and Dr. Jyothi. And today's quest, you have all seen the flyer. It is on diabetes reversal. So when most of us did our medical schooling, this concept is nowhere there. The diabetes is something which is considered to be, which is permanent. It cannot be cured. Once diabetes will be lifelong diabetes. Now there are a lot of changes happening in the concepts and all. So the area will have enlightening discussions today. And to start with, I'll just discuss a small case to create a background or a platform to kickstart the discussion. This is of a story of 24 goats. You may be all thinking what the goats has to do with the diabetes. So the story is like this. So this is the year where I joined here in the hospital. In the December 2029, one patient, Mr. M. So I asked the AI to create a representative image of him. It is not the real person. So he came. He's a recent Gulf returnee. He just returned from Saudi Arabia. And he came to the nephrology OPD with frothing of urine. And urine microalbumin creatine ratio was 740. So significant albuminuria is there. And regarding the comorbidities, is diabetic from 2010 on premix human insulin 25/015, metformin and glimepiride. So heavy medications. Still the sugars are poorly controlled with HbA1c of 9.2. Hypertensive on losartan, dyslipidemia. There was no diabetic retinopathy as screened. So, and height is 170, weight is 96 kg. So I thought it could be a diabetic nephropathy. Also consider the possibility of obesity-related glomerulopathy, because there is no diabetic retinopathy. If there is diabetic nephropathy, retinopathy will be seen in around 60 to 70% of the cases. So he is obese, that's why. And regarding the flashback, he told that he went to the Gulf in 1990 in search of a job, and he got a job as an accountant. When he went there, he was a very lean person with weight around 60 kg. And once he started his job, he started to earn, he married, he took the family also there, he started to eat, and physical inactivity of his job, he gradually started to gain weight. From 60 kg, he is now 95 kg, 96 kg. So this is a story. And I told there is a possibility that your kidney issues could be because of the obesity. So you don't have a diabetic retinopathy. And I did an ultrasound. Kidney size are a bit big. It could be a possibility of obesity-related glomerulopathy. Please cut down your weight. Maybe you can reduce your proteinuria. And I told you can have a diet plan and exercise. You can go to gym or anything. He told me that he's now retired. His father is a farmer. He has some nearly 1 acre of land at his house. So I don't want to go to any gym or any sports. My father was a farmer. I am passionate in farming. Due to my life circumstances, I am like this. I want to go back to farming. I like to farming and all. And I will eat a healthy diet. Yes. And he started farming. And he bought 2 goats for a passion. And farming started. He's on a very good diet, no junk foods, all home prepared food. He cut down the carbs and all. And in 1.5 years time, 2 goats became 24 goats. 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 16, now 24 goats. All the time he's running behind the goats. And also, and he's farming with a good diet. And what happened? The weight gradually reduced from 96 kg to 64 kg over 1.5 years time. And as the weight came down, he came to me that he's not able to take insulin. His sugars are going down. And I stopped the insulin. He couldn't handle the glimepiride. It was stopped. And metformin was stopped. And he's no more hypertensive. All medicines were stopped. And HbA1c is 5.4 without insulin or OHA. BP is well controlled. Lipids are normal. He's in a disease-free state. You can see very uncontrolled diabetes of 10 years with high dose of insulin and all, with a significant weight reduction, 96 kg to 64, with the help of these 24 gods maybe, he is now a disease-free person. So that is all about this remission. So his diabetes is under remission. All diseases under remission. And there's one more twist for the story. After 6 months or 8 months, he again came to me. He's in severe depression. I asked what happened. He's not able to go outside his house. Wherever he goes, his family members, his neighbors, everyone will tell, you have some disease, and cancer on diabetes, sugar test. You go and see the doctor, do a health checkup. You have some major issue. That's why you are losing weight. He's not able to go out. No one is recognizing him. So everyone recognizes him to be a very obese person. Now everyone tell you are very weak. But I told, don't listen to them. Don't take those words. When you are 60 kg and you become 95 kg, no, everyone encourage him. Oh, you are getting better. You are getting more healthy. But it is only because of the weight he developed all the disease, and now he's healthy now, but he's not able to go outside. And because of the constant bombardment of these things from these neighbors and surrounding, he becomes very depressed. I told, and ultimately what happened? I had a lost follow-up. Then later, after 8 months' time, he again came to me. This time he is 84 kg. He looks lethargic, and sugars are very high. Fasting sugars 340, ppbs is 450, pressures are high, lipids are grossly uncontrolled. I asked what happened. He told, I disposed all my gods. They checked. Jolsin told me that this god is creating all the problem for you. This god is creating depression for you. So please dispose the gods. Gods are not good for you. And and I lost my passion. I'm not able to concentrate in farming anymore. I lost my diet control. And now I asked, and then relatives, some family members, they are all very happy. They are telling me, I'm healthy now. You look good now. But see his sugars. So that is initially diabetes was in remission. Now relapse happened. And one thing, who is this? This is Mahabali. And Mahabali in our Asian scriptures, and if you look historically, he is considered to be a very big warrior. He has never failed in any battle. And he was considered to be a six-pack person, heavy, muscular warrior. And our people, Malayalis, don't like fit people. So what we did, we converted the Mahabali into a fat, bellied person. But if you look at the historically, if you analyze, Mahabali is not like this. So the problem with Kerala is we all like to see people very obese with a big tummy. And that could be the reason why we are the diabetic capital of India. And the same happened for this Mr. M also. The people don't like him to be very fit. They all want him to be very chubby and obese. So this is regarding the background, and we'll see the scientific things about this story. And over to you, Dr. Philip, sir.
This one. Ready to go back. Working. Good on. First slide. So I think that story set the ball rolling for this presentation. I think I don't need to really do another presentation because the story is so self-explanatory. I think the story of the 24 goats is a beautiful start. Thank you, Arun, for introducing us to the topic. So when I trained also, and all of us have trained in medical college, we have told that once you get diabetes, you're a diabetic forever. That is a general dogma in our mind. But I think what we are going to discuss today is this reversal of diabetes, this terminology which is a fad now, is it a fact or a fiction? And I think already Arun has shown that it is not a fiction, it is a fact, and that story is very illustrative. So do I believe that diabetes can be reversed? Yes, I do believe diabetes can be reversed. And why am I saying that? So far, we've been going from the left to the right in our medical understanding, right? We say normal glucose tolerance. Many of us, when we screen ourselves for sugar, we are normal glucose tolerance. And then we have primordial prevention. Avoid eating junk foods, avoid eating, becoming fat, be sedentary, and then you can prevent probably diabetes in a significant number. Then we go to a stage where we check our blood sugar, and 25% of Keralites are pre-diabetic, or diabetic is what the current statistics from the Indian Institute of Diabetes in Trivandrum says. 25%, 1 in 4 Keralites, adults, can be pre-diabetic. And so that is a fasting sugar between 100 to 126 and postprandial sugar between 140 to less than 140 will be impaired glucose tolerance in the postprandial. So that is a pre-diabetic state. But usually we know it's a relentless passage forward. Pre-diabetics, many of them will become diabetic. And once you become diabetic, if you don't keep it under control, you develop microvascular and macrovascular complications such as retinopathy, nephropathy, neuropathy. And we know that once you reach the stage of complications, it's very difficult to go back. But now what we are saying about diabetes reversal is that from stage 3, clinical diabetes, you can become non-diabetic. And that is what Arun's patient also demonstrated. He was a diabetic, very poorly controlled diabetic on 3 OHAs and 1 insulin. And he became a non-diabetic range HbA1c, 5.4. He became off drugs. And that is what I'm going to highlight. Is it possible to reverse the diabetes? So we are now talking about going from the left to the, from the right to the left. From a clinical diabetes, can we go into pre-diabetes, and can we go into normal glucose tolerance? And we have seen examples of it in our day-to-day practice, and that is what gives us the confidence that this may be possible. But the correct term actually is not really reversal. Like in cancer, we only say remission. We don't say reversal completely because we don't know if it will come back. I think the correct terminology with experts feel is now that it should be called diabetes remission rather than reversal, because there is always a potential, like in this gentleman whom Dr. Arun presented, he became back diabetic when he let go of all the benefits he got. So this is the traditional thinking that diabetes is a progressive disease. We talk about sulfonylurea resistance. After 7 to 8 years, most people will become resistant to sulfonylureas, and then you need insulin, and 50% will require insulin within 10 years. And that is a dogma till now. It is only treatable. We cannot cure diabetes, and it's not reversible. You have to accept the fact that you're a diabetic. Isn't that what we were taught and what we believe? But we have many examples in our clinical practice of diabetes reversal. For example, we see many bariatric patients we operate. The day after the bariatric surgery, within a week, they have stopped their insulin. They don't need OHAs, and there is a dramatic change, and there's a significant weight loss. What about our gestational diabetes patients? Many of them we see they are diabetic, they're requiring high dose of insulin during pregnancy, but after the pregnancy, they don't need OHAs or insulin. So isn't that another example of a reversal which we are used to? Bariatric surgeries, those of us who see patients with bariatric, we know patients who needed high dose of insulin or off insulin, even off OHAs. In fact, they get severe hypos after the bariatric surgery. And we know stress-induced diabetes also can occur, and then many people reverse. And we know people who get steroids. Many of our patients, we do give high-dose steroids, steroid-induced diabetes. Once you stop the steroids, the diabetes is reversed. So we have many clinical examples already in our knowledge. But in 2021 in diabetes care, there is a gentleman called Mr. Roy Taylor, who's the penultimate author. He lives in Newcastle upon Tyne. He has been studying this concept of diabetes reversal for the last 15 years, and he's published many papers, and he is actually the pioneer in the field of diabetes reversal. Professor Roy Taylor, I've had a chance to listen to him back in the UK, and also he's come to Trivandrum recently and gave a talk. Professor Taylor talks about that the right word to use, he emphasizes in this article, is that it is called diabetes remission. And what is the definition of remission? After you stop your OHAs and your insulin, 3 months later, if your HbA1c remains below 6.5, you can call it diabetes remission. And then he said, oh, when everybody said he did a lot of studies, he produced some special protein shakes and specific meal replacement therapies, and he put through a lot of volunteers through this diabetes reversal program, and he produced diabetes remission. But they said, oh, this is all very good. It will work in a very artificial condition. You need highly motivated volunteers to do this. You can't do it in the real world. That's what we call the real world studies. But actually, Dr. Taylor, along with Professor McLean, they showed that in primary care in the National Health Service, across 49 health GP practices, they implemented the diabetes reversal program, and they showed that there was 50% of their patients where they implemented this rigorous lifestyle and diet administered through the GPs of UK, they were able to show diabetes remission in over 50% at the end of 1 year. And that is what got published in the Lancet in 2018 as the DIRECT trial. The DIRECT trial is a well-known trial, and there were 306 individuals who were recruited from nearly 50 GP practices across the UK. At 12 months, 50% achieved remission to a non-diabetic state, and patients where participants could discontinue their OHAs and even insulin. The conclusion is, it is a practical target. It's not impossible to reverse your diabetes if you go and follow the advice given by the GPs, who are usually the first point of contact for patients in England. What are the various diets with which we can achieve remission? You can do it through various diets, but we talk about the low carbohydrate diets. Most of our Indian diets are 60 to 70% are carbohydrate, right? Our plates are usually filled with the carbs, and then we have very little protein and vegetables in our diets. But when a high carbohydrate diet is when it's 45% or more carb in the diet. A moderate carb diet is when it varies between 25 to 45%, and a low carbohydrate diet is less than 26% of the plate is carbohydrates in the diet, and very low carb diet is less than 10%. So you can achieve the weight loss with any of these diets, but more important is the total caloric content rather than the carbohydrate. So we should not get too fixated on the carbohydrate. Some people talk about nil carb diet. Sometimes I think there is a need for a balanced diet, and today Jyothi will be talking after me. She'll tell you about the dietary aspects a little bit more in detail so that we don't get into any extreme approach to try to lose weight. Professor Taylor talks about the VLCD diets, or the very low calorie diets which are less than 800 calories per day. And I have few patients who have been highly motivated, who have shown that they could lose nearly 10 to 15 kgs of weight by following the VLCD diets. But generally, dietitians have been a little careful in prescribing this, because when you follow very low calorie diets, you can develop certain concerns which I will talk about. So VLCD diets is also something which is possible if you are motivated to lose weight. So this is the book which I would recommend. I'm reading through this book currently. It's a book which is published by Professor Roy Taylor. It's written for lay people and for medical professionals. Both medical professionals and lay people can read this book. It costs 450 rupees on Amazon. You can order it. And this book, if you read it, he takes you through a stepwise understanding of obesity, diabetes, and how diabetes can be reversed through dietary interventions. So there was a stage in the 2010 to 2020 when morbid obesity patients were only offered bariatric surgery. And that is the standard of care. Whenever anybody comes with morbid obesity, first step is offer them bariatric. None of the dietary interventions will cause more than 10% weight loss, so people were regularly offering it. Dr. Taylor challenged this dogma. He said, he published a study known as the counterpoint study. And the counterpoint said, you can achieve the same degree of weight loss with very low calorie diets through significant caloric restriction. And that created some waves in the medical community that you can get the same results, almost near same results with dietary restriction. The only point is that you need to be following the program very rigorously, and many patients who lack motivation may not be able to adhere to the guidelines. So this was a book which actually has been helpful. But basically the point which Professor Taylor talks about is that 1 gram of fat in the pancreas, if it is there, it is enough to cause diabetes. Okay? But reversal or diabetes remission will occur only if you lose 15 kg of weight. If you lose 15 kg of weight, you will lose 1 gram of fat in the pancreas. That is the equivalence. So you can understand how much we have to work to lose that 1 gram in fat in the pancreas. So this is an electron micrograph of the pancreas of a person who has diabetes. I'm talking about today about type 2 diabetes, okay? And can you see all these fat globules? We remember the fat globules, how they look. Professor Vijay ma'am, you can probably correct me if I get it wrong, but I know all these fat droplets are what is the trigger or inciting factor for diabetes and how it can paralyze the islets function. So this is the first study which got Dr. Taylor worldwide attention. He wrote this article in March 2013, published in the Diabetes Care. He said either very low calorie diet or bariatric surgery. If you follow it, your main way through which you get diabetes reversal is by reducing the liver fat content. And substantial decrease in fat content occur when you follow one of these two methods, and the hepatic insulin sensitivity gets normalized. People who are obese or overweight have reduced hepatic insulin sensitivity, and he demonstrated through nuclear magnetic resonance stereoscopic images that there is decrease in the pancreatic fat when you start losing weight. He did serial images of the liver, the pancreas through NMR spectroscopy. He got a grant from the US to do this study, and he showed as the person's weight reduced, the liver fat reduced, the pancreatic fat reduced, their sugars also came down. So this is the picture. On the left side, you have the pre and post bariatric surgery effect. Can you see the plasma glucose within 2 weeks after surgery? In the top column, you see the black bars, the histogram. You can see when the weight dropped from 106 to 185 kg, the plasma glucose dropped in, this is in millimoles, you multiply into 18, from 9 millimoles nearly to 6 millimoles within 2 weeks of bariatric surgery. And then following medical measures, the weight loss is from 106 to 105. Not as impressive as bariatric, I must admit that. But still you see there is a drop. What about the fasting plasma glucose post-bypass? Dropping to nearly 4 millimoles. You see that. This side you can see when you followed a hypocaloric diet, how the pre and post liver triglyceride levels, while the basal hepatic glucose output and the plasma glucose, how they have dropped even within a few weeks after following a hypocaloric diet or the very low calorie diet. So these are the two pioneers, Professor McLean and Professor Taylor, who were the lead authors in the DIRECT trial. The original DIRECT trial ran from 2014 for 2 years and showed that 46% of their patients were in remission. And remember, this is done through the primary care services in 1 year. At the end of 2 years, only 36% remained. At the end of 5 years, only 10% remain in remission. So this is also a reality check. It will not sustain if we don't maintain the gains which we have got through the first year. Then they extended a study, and they said there is a group of these participants who did the study. They provided GP support for them through the coming years and saw whether they could sustain their diabetes remission. And what it showed is that those who lost about 5% weight loss, the remission was only 3% among them. Those who lost 5 to 10 kgs of weight, the remission was 20 to 30%. And those who lost more than 15 kilos weight loss, the remission was 86%. It's nothing rocket science. The more weight you lose, the better is your response and the better will be your chances of remission. This is the latest results published last year in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology section, and they have shown the 5-year follow-up of the randomized diabetes remission clinical trial of continued support. So they picked up the people who benefited, and they continue to have the GPs calling them frequently, supporting them, what's happening to you, how is your weight, and very often the follow-up systems we don't match the system, the rigorous way they follow up their patients. And out of the 118 people, 12 in the interventional group were still in remission at year 5 compared to 5 out of 93. In the intervention group, out of the 85 who had continued to receive support from their GP, 13% remained in remission. So if you continue to support these people, which needs a lot of money and expense, there will be definitely a benefit. So at year 5, the average weight loss in the intervention group was 5.6 kg and the control was less. And the average weight loss of the 11 people in this group who stayed in remission was 8.9 kg. So Professor Shahrad Taheri, you can make out it's a Middle Eastern name, is a colleague of Dr. Taylor who came from the Middle East to learn from Professor Taylor how he did his diabetes remission. And he took back the same concepts back to Qatar, and he did a study there, and that got published again in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology, saying that this is not something which can only happen in the UK. It can happen even in the other parts of the world. And this is called the DIADEM study. And basically, in the DIADEM study, they showed the same intensive lifestyle intervention on body weight and glycemia and early diabetes. He recruited 158 individuals. The mean weight loss was about 12 kg versus 4 kg in the controls. those people who achieved more than 15% weight loss were 21% in intervention arm and only 1% control. Diabetes remission was achieved in 60%, more than in the direct trial, versus 12% in the control. 33% became normoglycemic in the interventional arm. So the interpretation of these two studies support what Dr. Arun showed in this case study, that intensive lifestyle intervention with improved weight loss can lead to diabetes remission and normoglycemia. And if you have normoglycemia for a long period, there is something known as a legacy effect. There is a protection to the macrovascular effects in the long term. So trying to get their weight down will have a benefit beyond that period they remain normoglycemic. So we don't have to get discouraged, oh no, many of them regain weight, so I'm not even going to try. No. I think getting them to a period of normoglycemia will have effects which spill over beyond. And that's what is shown in the UK PDS extension study called as the EDIC trial. They have shown that it benefits. So how does weight loss reverse type 2 diabetes? And this is a complicated biochemistry slide, but I think in the interest of time, Arun wants to finish by 9. I will skip this. For the medical students, you can pick up this presentation later. But essentially, when you have excess fat, when you have too much of glucose consumption, there's a lot of free fatty acid which goes into the cell, which leads to triacylyl glycerol storage, and the insulin action is blocked. There is insulin resistance. There is insulin resistance in the liver, which is linked to the liver triglyceride content going up. And the raised insulin levels trigger hepatic de novo lipogenesis. The chronic liver fat or fatty liver, which we tend to sometimes disregard in the ultrasound reports, fatty liver is probably the beginning of the pathophysiological pathway by which we end up developing diabetes. And so excess caloric intake drives liver fat buildup and insulin resistance. And chronic liver fat disrupts the insulin signaling, which I showed you in the first slide, through diacyl glycerol and ceramide buildup. And liver fat is mainly built up because we consume more calories that we can burn up and high insulin levels. Chronic exposure to free fatty acids impairs the beta cell functions. There is something called lipotoxicity. When there's a lot of fatty acids circulating, it can cause toxicity to the islets of Langerhans, and you have lipotoxicity, glucotoxicity are all concepts which we can discuss about later, but essentially too much of fatty acids is going to cause your beta cell dysfunction. This is again the same picture which is shown up. So the concept which Professor Roy Taylor explains in his book in the first few chapters is something known as the twin cycle hypothesis. What he essentially says is, if we all keep consuming too much food, overconsumption, it promotes liver fat buildup via de novo lipogenesis. That leads to elevated insulin levels in those who are predisposed, which accelerates the fat accumulation. And the increased liver fat disrupts glucose regulation, leading to modest fasting hyperglycemia. And he's drawn this picture in his book, and he explains it in very nice words. I cannot reproduce it the way he does it. In very simple words, he says how the increased positive caloric balance leads to liver fat, and the liver cycle, how it occurs. And then he talks about the pancreatic cycle. And I'm going to just skim over it right now. Basically, the pancreas, also, the fat deposition leads to impaired insulin response, and there is post-meal hyperglycemia. Eventually, islet functions will deteriorate and leads to type 2. So in whom can we try for diabetes remission? Is those who have got diabetes for a shorter duration of time, maybe less than 5 to 6 years. Those who have less visceral fat, those who are not on maybe 5 medication or 4 OHAs and insulin, probably the chances of success is less. Those who are on 1 or 2 OHAs, definitely we can reverse their diabetes if they are motivated. They must also have a good mental health structure. We know all types of patients we see with diabetes. Some are highly motivated, some are partially motivated, some come only because the children bring them, but no motivation to really become compliant. And those who have at least some beta cell reserve is needed to try to get diabetes remission. So, is diabetes reversible possible for everyone? No, not for everyone. There is probably a significant group in whom we can reverse diabetes among type 2 diabetes. Remember, today I'm not talking about type 1 or fibrocalcific pancreatic diabetes. So, we can reverse patients with clinical diabetes, pre-diabetes to normal glucose tolerance this way if we do it the right time, but not after you develop retinopathy, nephropathy, and neuropathy or a cardiac problem. Probably we have lost, the horse is run out of the stable already, right? So can we reverse complications? Actually, there is one study published from Michigan which showed that when after bariatric surgery, some people who had mild peripheral neuropathy, there was improvement in the nerve density. But this is an exception. Most of the studies have not shown that we can really reverse complications very much, but this is an exception. But it gives us a ray of hope that perhaps we can even reverse peripheral neuropathy to an extent after bariatric surgery, which improved their diabetes. So I want to close with a re-reversal of diabetes. Precisely what Arun talked about. Professor Mohan is a very erudite speaker. He's spoken many times on our webinars. Jacob has arranged those webinars. Dr. Mohan talks about an patient in his practice, which I have reproduced with acknowledgements. He's a patient of Dr. Mohan in Chennai who was diabetic for 6 years, was on insulin and OHAs. He started on a very low calorie diet. Dr. Mohan and his team motivated them. Lost a lot of weight, more than 15 kgs. He achieved remission. He was able to stop insulin and maintain normoglycemia without drugs. When in 2018, before COVID, when he started this patient, the weight of the patient was 123 kgs. In 2020 November, he came down to 99 kilos. Can you see how the weight came down? A lot of support and motivation happened. Then can you see the simultaneously, as the weight comes down, can you see the HbA1c? Linear progression goes down to 5.4. So as your weight coming down, HbA1c is dropping. And then what about the fasting sugars? Can you see that the fasting sugars comes down from 130 to 89, and the fasting sugar postprandial comes from 293 to 110. The SGOT, the liver enzymes, can you see them improving? From 2018, the SGOT-PT have dropped significantly by weight loss. But the problem is the patient was overjoyed. He's cured of diabetes. He's not on drugs. And then Professor Mohan said, you must continue to see us every 6 months, 3 to 6 months. Patient was just lost to follow-up. He didn't come back. He thought he's cured. And lo and behold, in 2021, he lands up again in their clinic. This time his weight has come down to 91, has gone back to 112. And see what has happened. His HbA1c shoots up from 5.4 to 9.6. And the blood sugars, the fasting has also shot up to 247 postprandial. Identical to what Dr. Arun presented of his patient here who came to us. And then the liver enzymes, can you see? Off the charts, 152 and 66. So weight reduction and maintenance is the key. And there is also something known as a personal fat threshold. All of us are not created the same. Some of us, I know some people who are obese but very healthy, right? There is also a threshold which each of us have, which we have to discover for ourselves. What is our personal fat threshold? And Dr. Roy Taylor talks about this in his book, when normal weight is not risk-free. And etiology does not depend only on BMI. And this is an article which he published about the normal BMI and how whether he can test the personal fat threshold hypothesis. I won't go into this because of excess of time. So correction of excess concealed intrahepatic fat promotes the recovery of beta cell function and overall glycemic improvement. But type 1 diabetes as of today is not reversible, and FCPD also is not reversible. But the issue is when you follow such weight loss, you must be careful. When you go on to these strict diets, you don't develop micronutrient deficiencies. I'm sure Jyothi will talk about it. Our immunity can also go down in that process, so we have to be careful when we go through these weight loss programs. VLCD and low-carb diets are today considered to be safe. Normoglycemia can be maintained in the absence of diet. VLCD can result in more than 15 kg weight loss, but maintenance is also very important. So thank you very much. We will take questions in the end. I'll just ask in the interest of time if Jyothi can do that next talk on what are the specific aspects of diet which we all can pay attention to. Thank you. Yeah. So which is your presentation? This one, no? One more?
Thank you, Dr. Philip, sir. And over to you, Dr. Jyothi.
Good morning, everyone. The topic, my topic for presentation is impact of a calorie-restricted diet on the reversal of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Sir has already mentioned about the diabetic so it's not moving.
Screen stuck.
Sir has already mentioned about diabetes remission. It is not reversal, it is remission. Remission is when the HbA1c level is less than 6.5 grams percentage. At least it has to be maintained for 3 months at least without any glucose lowering medications. And the potential goal in the approach for type 2 diabetes, sir has already spoken about obesity. So the primary target or risk factor is obesity. So basically, we have two options, like we can prevent diabetes or we can achieve remission after developing diabetes. So it is also very important, like when to start and how long you have to start the weight loss program. So sir has already mentioned about the Taylor twin cycle. So I just wanted to inform you that the handle of the cycle is the calorie-rich diets. So the handle is managing the two wheels. So the two wheels represent, one wheel is the liver fat and the other wheel is the pancreatic fat. So the handle is handling the calories. So what we have to do is we have to reduce the calories so as to control these two wheels. So diabetes remission, actually, as sir has already mentioned about the personal fat threshold. So each one of you are having personal fat threshold. We know that men is having a fat threshold of total body fat percentage should be less than 28. That is between 20 to 28, and for females it should be less than 20. So in this target, if you want to achieve the target, the complete remission is possible if the fasting blood glucose level is less than 100 mg and in the absence of diabetic medication, and the HbA1c level is less than 6%. Sir has mentioned about bariatric surgery. So regarding the diet, so it is an intensive dietary approach that we have to follow. There are two methods, very low calorie diet and the low calorie diet. Very low calorie diet is if the calorie of the diet is less than 850 kilocalories, and the low calorie diet is if it is between 850 and 1200. So what we have to do is, it is very difficult to achieve these very low calories through our diet pattern. So actually the Professor Roy Taylor has done using the meal replacements. Why they have used meal replacement is because it can improve the nutrition, it can give portion control and calorie control. What are the advantages of meal replacements? It can create a structural eating pattern. It will give good nutrition. The stimulus can be controlled from our side, because since we are following a very good nutritional balance, we will be stimulated more. And the last point is the compliance is also very good if we follow a meal replacement. Otherwise, it is very difficult to calculate the calories always. We don't know what protein, which food is having more protein, which food is having more fat. So you need a professional advice for like developing a low calorie diet. So there are other studies are also saying that if meal replacements are used, it can help you to reduce your insulin levels and leptin levels, so that if the leptin levels are controlled, we will not get more hunger. So these are the different kinds of meal replacement which are normally available in the market. These are not the brands. I just included the bars, then the shakes, lot of smart items like slim fat, high protein powders are available. So the advantage of this is, like, it will provide less than 300 calories per each serving, and it will give you 10 to 20 grams of protein with at least 10 to 45 grams of carbohydrates and less than 9 grams of fat. And the definition is, very low calorie diet definition is 400 to 800 kilocalories, but it should give you 80 to 100 grams of protein. That is the difficult challenge, and that should be carbohydrate restricted. So all the meals which we are consuming here is high in carbohydrate. You know, rice, 1 cup of rice is having 50 grams of carbohydrate. So in the very low calorie diet, we have to reduce the carbohydrate to less than 50 grams. So even if you consume 1 cup of rice, it will give you 45 to 50 grams of carbohydrate. So it is a very challenging task for the Indian population and the Kerala, especially Kerala people. So I'll give you some practical solutions to this. So this is what is happening when you give a low carbohydrate, low calorie and high protein diet. The high protein will give you more satiety and that will help you to reduce your appetite and reduce your weight. And also the pancreas, there will be increased insulin secretion that will help you to reduce your sugars. And the other way, there will be more ketogenesis is happening. That is, we are reducing the carbohydrates, so more ketone bodies are produced, and that itself is causing gluconeogenesis and reduced glycemia. So in the these are some examples. I'll skip these slides. And there are studies, several studies have shown to reduce the impact of very low calorie diet on reducing the leptin levels, insulin levels and so on. So this is one modified VLCD version wherein if you consume 2 protein bars which are having 15 grams of protein, 13 grams of carbohydrate and which will give you only 160 calories. So anybody is using any protein bars or any protein powders? No? Ensure is actually, ma'am, it is not a full meal replacement. Full meal replacement is, which is very low in calories, it will be more in proteins and moderately in fat. And these are other versions of, so I'll just skip these slides. What is a sample diet of ours? This is the, if I using our Indian diet, if I plan an 800 calorie diet, this will be our normal plan, right? Mostly most of us are like consuming oats daily. If you consume one small bowl of oats with half cup of not blueberries and any fruit, it will give you around 120 plus 30 calories. Lunch, if you consume one small bowl of spinach and dal means chira and paripuri, and half cup of brown rice and one small fruit, it will altogether give you around 280 to 300 calories. This is the normal diet. If everybody is following a diet, they will try to do it like this. But is it the right diet? Anybody is agreeing to this?
Protein is not visible.
Yeah. The problem of this diet is actually, it is less in protein. It is very less. It is only less than 50 grams of protein. And if you count the carbohydrate, it will be, actually I have tried to reduce the carbohydrate, but it will be around 100 to 150 grams. So if you follow a very low calorie diet, what is the disadvantages? You can follow it for 1 or 2 days or maybe for 1 week. After that, you will stop it. Why? Because most of the time, very low calorie diets are not rich in fibers or any micronutrients, or it may not be satiating also. So you may be feeling bored after taking 1 or 2 days, or even for 1 week. If you take, you may not continue or sustain the diet. So the practical solution to this is to follow a low calorie diet. So low calorie diet is 850 to 1000 kilocalorie, and that should give, if the carbohydrate is less than 50, that would be ideal, but that is also very practically very difficult thing. But I'll give you some more examples. Like first, I'll tell you how to calculate the calories. So if you have a standard calorie burn level, for a person who is sedentary, the calorie burning level is 30. For light activity, it is 35. For average, it is 40, and heavy workers, it is 45. So in order to maintain your maintenance energy, you have to multiply this standard calorie burnt into your ideal body weight. So anybody is aware of your ideal body weight? You have any idea on your ideal body weight? So this is a formula. Your height in meter squares into 22. That is the Lemon's formula, which will give you, if one person is 160 centimeters, his ideal body weight is 56 kilograms. So 1.6 into 1.6 into 22. That is the ideal body weight. So 56 is the ideal body weight. So then you have to set the goals. So the ideal body weight is 56, and the maintenance energy, if you are a sedentary person, you are a doctor or a nurse or a dietitian or someone, they are having a sedentary life. So 30 into 56, which will give you around 1600 kilocalories, but that is too high. if you want to lose your weight, 1600 calories is high. Then you have to reduce 500 kilocalories from the calculated one. So 1600 minus 500, that will give you 1100 kilocalorie. That is the ideal calorie requirement if you want to lose your weight at least 4 kg in 1 week. So this is a plan. Normally for our breakfast we take dosa, sambar, chutney, chaya, everything. So altogether it will give you 480 calories and 12 grams of protein. That is not adequate, we know. So my plan is, as a meal replacement, if you take a protein shake which is made of roasted Bengal gram. Roasted Bengal gram is the pottukadala. Pottukadala 1 tablespoon with low fat curd 200 ml with a whey protein isolate 1 scoop with boiled carrots and fruits of 100 grams. It will give you 250 calories. It will not give you more than 200 to 300, 250 with 30 grams of protein. So that you are able to maintain your protein increase, like 30 grams of protein per breakfast. Otherwise, you will get only 12 grams. For appam, veg2 and tea, it will give you protein of 6 grams only. It's very less in protein. So this is the way that you have to plan your breakfast. Then lunch. Normally our rice, lunch pattern is rice 2 cup, more curry and fish fry or pickle or yam salt or some avial or something. So it will give you 850 calories with 20 grams of protein because you have included 1 fish there. So it is 20 gram. That is also not adequate because you want to increase your protein to 80 to 90 grams. Then only you will get the proper result. So the protein shake can be included or protein salads like this chana salads with chicken and chana and lot of protein rich items can be included and can make it as a salad, and it will give you 300 calories with 40 grams of protein. And the protein gap there is almost 30 grams if you are not including the protein. For example, if you are a vegetarian, you will be taking some veg fried rice or gobi Manchurian. So that will give you only 10 grams of protein with 750 calories. So the protein deficit is 30 grams. Then the third, dinner, if you take tapioca, chutney, tapioca is good but it is not rich in proteins. But tapioca and chutney, it will give you 700 calories with 5 grams of protein. But you want to increase your protein, then you take a baked chicken with salads or chicken vegetable soup with spinach dal soup, so that it will give you very less calories with more proteins. 250 calorie with 25 grams of protein. So the protein deficit is 20 gram. So this is how we have to, but it is very difficult for a normal person to calculate like this. So if you want the professional help, or you can use the recent apps are there. But the only problem is, like, if you use the apps and all, you may not get the adequate micronutrients. So you will focus only on the calories and carbohydrates. So will not get the omega-3 fats. So if you want to get a better solution, you have to think of different food items to be included in the diet, not only the meal replacements. So I'll give you one example. If you take a cup, how many of you are taking daily fish? Actually, fish, if you take it, how much of fish is required to improve your omega-3 levels? Omega-3 fat, doctors are prescribing 1000 mg, maybe 2 times or 1 time per day. Yes, sir, but how much should we consume? Should we need to consume to get it?
Very high, large dose.
Very large dose, but because even 250 grams of matti will give you 500 milligrams or so. So we need to consume more to get this omega-3 fat. But the idea is, like, it is not necessary to completely consume 1000 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acid, but at least if you take at least 250 grams, you can get 500 milligrams. That is the thing. So whenever you take the proteins, you should consider of omega-3, the magnesium, calcium, all the micronutrient has to be taken into consideration. So this is another plan. This is a vegetarian plan where any one of you is taking daily some kadala basin flour. Basin flour is a rich source of protein, so that it is very easy for you to make it in your home. It's a basin chila. In basin chila, you can add lot of green leaves, lot of onion. If you want, add vegetables and make it as a dosha. It is a very good protein source. So it is very less in calories also. So think of vegetarian options which are helping you to improve your protein and micronutrient levels. So why I am not suggesting you to include the very low calorie diet is because that has lot of disadvantages too. You may feel hungry. There may be muscle cramps because of some deficiencies or some constipation you may develop, hair loss, dry skin, and diuresis can happen. If you follow it, actually, sir, it is helpful if you follow it a rapid weight loss, right, sir? So Professor Roy Taylor has insisted that if you follow a very rapid weight loss, you will get the better result. But if you follow that kind of a pattern, you will develop gallstones also. So be careful of that kind of problems also. Then nutritional ketosis is another problem. Ketonemia, ketonuria, a lot of disadvantages from ketone bodies. So actually what we have to do is we have to monitor our body composition first. As I said, everyone is focusing on the weight loss, but you have to focus on the fat loss, not on the weight loss. You have to focus on the lean mass. So you should increase your bone mass by reducing your fat mass. And anybody is aware of your fat percent, except Dr. Ria may be knowing. What is the fat percentage of your total body fat? You have to check that, because the fat actually, if you, sir always mentioned about fat. If you reduce fat, your pancreatic fat and the liver fat will reduce and you will get the proper remission. So you have to reduce your fat, that is the thing. So in order to reduce the fat, we should know first what is your fat percent. So if more than 28 in males and more than 20 in females, that is dangerous. Okay. So that is the thing. So first we have to lose our fat and increase your lean body mass. Sarcopenic obesity is another reason, because you may be thinking like you are obese, but you may not be having adequate lean body mass. That is another problem. You may get a lot of diseases from this. Then LCD is effective when it combines with the exercise, resistance exercise, and also some behavioral modifications like self-monitoring, stimulus control, reinforcement techniques, and cognitive restructuring. So the final slide of mine is provide a comprehensive lifestyle program by focusing on long-term healthy behaviors, customized eating plans with calorie deficit, activity plans that gradually increases, maintenance plan is always workable. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jyothi. So we have an interesting session, and to take home messages I need to convey is that the diabetic remission is a reality, and we have to consider about the golden years of the diabetes. Everyone has heard of golden years, golden hours in MI, stroke and all. So golden years in diabetes is the initial 5 years. If it is a window where you can aim for remission, and even if the full remission is not achieved, a very strict diabetes control, as Dr. Phillips had told, this memory of this good diabetic control or remission will be carried forward with the legacy effect. And one discussion about the personal fat threshold. So one thing I commonly do is, when I take the history, I always ask, what is your weight when you are 18 or 20 years old? I know most of you just imagine your marriage photos and all. For almost 90% of them, this at 18 to 20 years, for the height, we get the appropriate weight. So whatever we gain after that, most often it is a fat. And that is excess fat that is contributing to everything. So that is one easy way to know the personalized fat threshold for many. And now this is open for discussion.
Diet plan, we are Jyothi is describing about the diet plan. So when you consider the diet setting up a diet plan for a common person, you should be within normally available, easily available with food. But all these food that we have mentioned is not easily available. Nobody will go to the market and buy and that poha and everything. So you have to plan your diet according to the availability of food and also according to the acceptability of the person. How can we do it? with our normally available food?
Ma'am, actually, sir,
I will tell the practical aspect. I used to tell the patient, നിങ്ങൾ ചോറ് കൂട്ടാൻ പോലെ എടുക്കാവൂ, കൂട്ടാൻ ചോറ് പോലെ. അപ്പോൾ എളുപ്പം മനസ്സിലാവും. That is the thing which then it should contain vegetables, that kadala, പരിപ്പ്, chicken, fish and all. That കൂട്ടാൻ is the mixture of these things. So they will understand very well. And rice is, when you process any food, it is actually the GLP will not released. The unprocessed food like brown rice should be taken. അത് ഒരു കൂട്ടാൻ പോലെ ഒരു കയ്യിൽ എത്ര മതി. ഞാൻ ആക്ച്വലി പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സാധനമാണ്. എനിക്ക് ചോറ് കൊണ്ട് ഇത്ര വെച്ചാൽ ഇത്ര കഴിക്കത്തുള്ളൂ ഞാൻ. കാരണം ഓൾറെഡി a satiety is attained because of the GLP release into the gut, in the brain. And this weight loss, 5% weight loss, the 2025 guidelines says 60% remission in diabetics. That is what is recommended. Better than metformin also. So that is a learning point should be addressed, because we are eating more carb diet, never attain satiety, and the protein and the fat mass should be reduced, and the total body weight, instead of body weight, ideal body weight calculation is easy. If you got a 160 height, so you cut it, reduced by 100, and then again from the that is 60 the 10% korchana, that is 54, easy to calculate.
That is very ideal.
So, remission can also occur in patients with type 1 diabetes also. There is a phase called a honeymoon phase, in which there is a transient period of remissions. But we are always not happy once the patient develops remissions. Always you suspect the possibility of a development of a renal failure. So there is one more suggestions. You can have pharmacological remissions by giving a SGLT2 inhibitor, also with gliptins. Once you initiate gliptins, this is the only drugs that can have a regeneration of the pancreas, and remission can also occur. One more comments, what about the once the patient develops hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, what will happen to the diabetic status? Once the patient develops hyperthyroidism, there is a significant weight loss, there is an increase in the glucose uptake by the skeletal muscle, what will happen to the diabetic status?
So thyroxine excess will lead to actually hyperglycemia. That's what we have seen in most of our hyperthyroid patients. There is a postprandial hyperglycemia. But the weight loss itself doesn't usually bring the sugars to normal, is what we have seen in our thyrotoxic patients generally when we follow. But definitely the weight loss will definitely help the overall diabetes in type 2 diabetes.
Mohan Varghese sir has mentioned about the curries, but in Kerala what happens is, if we tell them to eat curries, they will eat with lot of coconut. So if 1 cup of avial is equal to 1 cup of rice, it's almost 349 calories for 1 cup of rice and 1 cup of avial. So that is the thing. And ma'am, actually, why I have mentioned the vegetarian diet is like, if these are the Lent days, so it will be easy for the people to like follow the vegetarian diet. And the other thing is, like, everything is available here, but we are thinking like it is not an like it is not available, and we are not going to purchase it. That is the thing. Especially for pulses, no, we can't take 100 gram of pulses as such, because if you take 100 gram of pulses, it will be like in a charuvam. ഒരു ചരുവത്തിൽ ഒരു 100 ഗ്രാം പയർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ബോയിൽ ചെയ്ത് കഴിയുമ്പം അത് ഡബിൾ ആകുമല്ലോ. സോ ദാറ്റ് മച്ച് ഓഫ് ക്വാണ്ടിറ്റി വി കാൺട്ട് കൺസ്യൂം. സോ whenever prescribe, but it will give you very less proteins. ഇപ്പം 25 ഗ്രാം പൾസ് എടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഓൺലി 6 ഗ്രാം പ്രോട്ടീനേ കിട്ടുള്ളൂ. അപ്പം നമുക്ക് പ്രോട്ടീൻ മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ചിലപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഐസൊലേറ്റഡ് പ്രോട്ടീൻസ് ഒക്കെ എടുക്കേണ്ടി വരും, എന്നാലേ പ്രോട്ടീൻ മീറ്റ് ആവുള്ളൂ. ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് പോസിബിൾ. ഇൻ മൈ ഒപ്പീനിയൻ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് പോസിബിൾ. ബട്ട് നമ്മളത് കുറച്ചുകൂടെ ഒന്ന് അതിനുവേണ്ടി സ്ട്രഗിൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടി വരും. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പ്രോഡക്റ്റ് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്തെടുക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു സ്ട്രഗിൾ ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് ചെയ്യേണ്ടി വരും. പണ്ട് നമുക്ക് ഈ വേ പ്രോട്ടീനൊക്കെ വരുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ ചിക്ക് പീസിൻ്റെ റോസ്റ്റഡ് ബംഗാൾ ഗ്രാം ഇൻ കേർഡിലാണ് അടിച്ചാണ് സ്പോർട്സ് പേഴ്സൺസ് ഒക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. ഇപ്പോഴല്ലേ വേ പ്രോട്ടീനും പ്രോട്ടീൻ ഐസൊലേറ്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ വന്നത്. അതിന് മുന്നേ അങ്ങനെ നാച്ചുറൽ സോഴ്സസ് ആണ് എടുത്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്.
മാഡം, ഞാൻ പേഷ്യൻസിനോട് പറയാറുണ്ട്, ഈ അവിയലും സാമ്പാറും ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കുമ്പം ഉരുളക്കിഴങ്ങ് കൂടുതൽ ഇടാതിരുന്നാൽ മതി, എങ്കിൽ ഷുഗർ വലിയ പ്രശ്നം വരത്തില്ല എന്ന് പറയാറുണ്ട്. അത് ശരിയാണോ തെറ്റാണോ എന്നൊക്കെ.
സാർ, അവിയലിനകത്ത് പൊട്ടറ്റോ ഇടാതിരുന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കാർബോഹൈഡ്രേറ്റ് കുറയും. പക്ഷേ അവിയലിൽ ജനറലി നമ്മൾ ഇതിടുമല്ലോ, ചേന ഇടും, ഏത്തക്ക ഇടും, അപ്പോഴൊക്കെ കാർബോഹൈഡ്രേറ്റ് കൂടുതലാണ്. ആക്ച്വലി അവിയൽ ഒരു വെരി റിച്ച് ഡയറ്റ് തന്നെയാണ്. പക്ഷേ നമ്മളത് കുറച്ച് അളവിൽ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക, വല്ലപ്പോഴും യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക, അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യുവാണെങ്കിൽ കുഴപ്പമില്ല. കാർബോഹൈഡ്രേറ്റ് കൂടുതലാണ് പൊട്ടറ്റോ ഇട്ട്.
I've got one question from online viewers who have asked one question. Question is, which is more important? Is it diet or exercise? We would say for weight loss, 80% of the success depend on the diet and the caloric intake, and only 20% is from the exercise aspect. So I had a patient from Delhi who came, who used to work out for nearly 2 hours. Still she was not losing much weight. But the exercise is good for building muscles and to maintain the weight loss. But the priority will be on the caloric intake. If you see recently the Hamas, Israeli prisoners who got released, the hostages, they are all very thin, right? And that is mainly because of diet restriction. I don't think they were getting any exercise, but I think so. That just shows that dietary restriction is probably the most important in this. But I think due to shortage of time, we'll have to close. Ma'am, we'll... That is because of the hepatic glucose output. So we'll take questions after the session if those of you want to stay back. So thank you very much. All of you came and stayed back. And I hope we will all lose some weight. And I'm sure it will make a difference in our lives and our family members' lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Philip sir. Thank you, Dr. Jyothi.